Hello, my name is Dryden Rainbow, and I'm a member of the Innis College Registrar's office. My portfolio is academic engagement. That's kind of broad. What that means is a lot of the time I am meeting one-on-one with students, doing academic advising. So if you have questions about planning your courses, how does this work towards my program? If you want to do learning abroad or a year abroad, but you're not sure how that will work with your courses, I often work with students to navigate kind of some of those complex questions. I also run events throughout the year. I manage our monthly newsletter. And as you heard Donald mention, I do also handle our social media account. On the Innis Registrar account is run by me and some work study students, and is always a great place to find content, especially in between newsletters. Just a quick note that today's session is being recorded. If people do have questions, one of my colleagues, Maddie, is here. She's in the background posting links, but I will hopefully have some time at the end to answer questions. If you want to post things in the chat, you can. I will see it. I might not answer it right away, especially if we're going to dig into that topic later on in the presentation. But if something really needs clarifying, you can always put your hand up or unmute and ask a question, and I'm happy to answer it on the spot. Okay, with all that said, let's dig in. So this is for students who are in the Rotman Commerce admission stream and how to go about selecting your courses and building a timetable. So we're going to talk about a lot of different things today. We're going to start very broadly about what is Rotman Commerce, what are your required courses. Then we're going to chat about kind of sprinkling in some different electives. And then we're going to round this out with a very practical approach to see you actually enroll in your courses. We're going to build a timetable and we're going to go through all the necessary steps. And then again, leave some room for questions. Okay, first things first, what is Rotman Commerce? So hopefully if you've applied and been admitted to Rotman Commerce, you have some strong familiarity with what it is. But essentially, it's a partnership between the Faculty of Arts and Science and the Rotman School of Management. You heard from Donald earlier about all the really unique and wonderful things available to you as a student in the Faculty of Arts and Science. So you still have those as Rotman Commerce students. In addition to that, you have all of these really cool resources available to you through the Rotman School of Management. So you have unique career sites, unique networking opportunities, and you have near only access to RSM and MGT courses. So this is Rotman Commerce courses, the ones that you'll need to complete your program, as well as electives. There is a lot more information available on the Rotman Commerce site if you want to dig into some of the resources and opportunities available to you. And I've put a link here if you want to explore that a little bit further. Okay, so we're going to dig right into the degree requirements. So in the earlier session, Denise was working through what some of the different degree requirements are. She went through them for Honors Bachelor of Arts and Honors Bachelors of Science students. These are very similar to the degree requirements you'll need to complete, but you're looking to get a Bachelor of Commerce. The only major difference is that for the program requirements, instead of needing to complete one specialist, two majors, or a major and two minors, you need to complete a Rotman Commerce Specialist. So that's in management, finance and economics, or accounting. Otherwise, you still need to do 20 credits. You still need to have a certain number at the senior level. You still need a 1.85, and you still need to hit those breadth requirements. So let's take a look at the major difference. That is between the specialist programs that you'll need to complete in order to get your BCom. So as I mentioned, there's 3 different specialists. And of course, they're all slightly different, but they're all offered by Rotman Commerce. The specialist in management is likely the most broad and most flexible. It's the one that will allow you to customize the most while also giving you the really foundational skills you need to continue on in management, marketing, business, depending on the area you're interested in. Next up is the specialist in finance and economics. It's going to give you both a theoretical and practical approach to both finance and economics. It is a pretty dense program, but it's really intended for students who are interested very intently in these 2 areas and are maybe even considering graduate level studies in either finance or economics. Last but certainly not least is a specialist in accounting. This is really intended for students who want to become accountants. It is meant for students who are planning to pursue their CPA designation after graduation. And the program has been designed in such a way so that you are leading towards basically becoming a chartered professional accountant. So there are different content between the three different programs, but then there's also different credit counts between the different programs. So management is the lightest of the options at 12 and a half credits, and accounting is the heaviest in terms of credit counts at 15 and a half credits. What does this really mean for you as you're looking at your degree? So, as I've mentioned, as Denise mentioned, you need 20 credits minimum to graduate. If you're looking at doing management, that leaves you with 12 and a half credits going towards your program and 17 and a half credits left to use for other things. Maybe you want to do another program. Maybe you want to look at a focus. We'll talk about that in just one second. Or maybe you're really interested in electives. This is one thing to consider as you're navigating the different programs. Accounting, on the other hand, is at 15 and a half credits. That's one of the most credit heavy programs we have at the University of Toronto, and that's because it's very goal oriented. It's going to leave you limited space for other programs, other focuses. That might be totally okay, especially if you want to become an accountant, but it is something to factor in as you're navigating picking which specialist is right for you. Now, as I said, you can customize your program depending on your interest. So if you're doing a specialist in management, you might then want to add in a focus in finance. There's actually tons of different focuses, especially for students in management, to further customize their degree. Basically, what a focus is you're choosing specific courses or even elective courses to cluster together to give you specific skills in a certain area, and that will be noted on your transcript. So when you graduate, if you had a specialist in management with a focus in finance, that would actually be noted. So when you're applying for jobs or showing your transcript to someone, they would see that difference. You are, though, a member of the Faculty of Arts and Science, and so you can also add Faculty of Arts and Science programs to your record if that's something you're interested in here. At the Innis College, we have a minor in writing and rhetoric. It's really good for those who want to build their professional and applied writing skills. So maybe you're doing a specialist in finance and economics. You know that later on you want to go to grad school. You really want to have a strong foundation in academic writing, persuasive writing, maybe even doing some journalism, then a minor in writing and rhetoric would be a really strong asset to your record, and that's something you could consider adding. One kind of nifty thing is that if you're doing a specialist in management, you're actually going to automatically get a minor in economics. You just need to actually add economics to your record, and you don't need to complete any additional courses. You'll actually be doing it simultaneously because the specialist in management includes all the courses required to complete a minor in economics. If you have any questions about how to combine programs or add focuses, that's something the registrar's office can definitely help you with and chat through your options. Okay, so now that you know kind of the broad overview of what Rotman Commerce is and the different programs you're working towards, the next major thing I want to cover are your required first year courses. So, as a Rotman Commerce student, you have been admitted to first year with basically a Rotman Commerce guarantee. It says that if you complete certain courses, you will be guaranteed admission into a program, one of these three specialists. This is very unique. The other programs outside of computer science do not offer this. So it's a pretty unique way to ensure that you're having the support in first year, but also knowing exactly what courses you need to complete in order to move into your desired programs. So we're going to break these down one at a time. First up is RSM 100. So this is Introduction to Management. It basically goes over the basics of management. It's really your core introductory course as a Rotman Commerce student. In order to meet the minimum mark for this course, you need to obtain a mark of 67%. I often recommend that students take this course in the fall term. Just in case anything happens, you'll have the backup option of taking it in the S term if necessary. Next up is Eco 101 and Eco 102, Principles of Micro and Macroeconomics. So these are really foundational courses, not just for Rotman Commerce, but also for students in a bunch of other programs. In Eco 101 and 102, you're going to find students who are in economics, public policy, international relations, criminology, maybe IRHR, as well. So a lot of different students are using these courses as foundational learning for their upper year senior level courses and the programs they want to get into. In this case, RSM 100 could be taken in the F or S term, and we'll talk a little bit more about that as we actually dig into your timetable. In this case, Eco 101 is a prerequisite for Eco 102. What that means is you can't take Eco 102 until you've passed Eco 101. So I recommend taking Eco 101 in the F term and Eco 102 in the S term or in the winter. In this case, you need to obtain a mark of 63% in each of these two courses. It's not an average between the two. You need 63% in Eco 101 and 63% in Eco 102. All right, next up is Math 133, Calculus and Linear Algebra for Commerce students. So this is your core math class. It's a BR5. People were asking about that in the earlier session, and it is the Mathematics of Finance. This is a Y1 course. So it's the first course we're looking at that runs the entire academic year. So it runs from September all the way until April. In order to meet the minimum required mark for this, you need to get a 63%. It is the foundation for your 200 level eco course, so it is important as you will need this, of course, for your second year eco courses that you plan to take in second year. Now, for Math 133, there are alternatives that you can take instead. Some students plan to take Math 135 and 136. This is traditionally the course that students in life science take. If you're planning to combine your Rotman Commerce degree with a life science program, I would probably recommend Math 135 and 136. Math 137 is the course you'll want to take if you are considering taking upper year math and computer science courses. So if you wanted to try and add a computer science minor, Math 137 is a good option for you. And then Math 157 is, I will say, if you're looking to take very senior level math courses in your senior years at the University of Toronto, I'll be honest, I very rarely see students take Math 157 within the commerce field. Most students are sticking to Math 133 unless they have a program interest elsewhere that would require them to take either Math 135, 136, or Math 137. Okay, so all of those courses go together to go towards your Rotman Commerce Guarantee. So you do need to complete the required courses with the minimum grade stated. In addition to that, you need to accumulate 4 credits. I'll say in most cases, if a student is planning to study full-time, they will meet this 4 credit requirement. And you do need to meet the requirements by the end of one calendar year. So by the end of August 2026 in this case. What I will say is I recommend that students aim to complete the requirements by the end of April, so during the fall and winter session, to basically set yourself up for success in choosing courses for your second year, and in case you need to retake, repeat, try again to take any of the courses during the summer. If you don't meet this guarantee, you can always connect with a Rotman Commerce advisor to chat about your options, and of course, the registrar's office is always here to chat as well. Now, you may have noticed your completed courses only add up to 2.5 credits. You need a minimum of 4 credits. So there are also recommended first year courses. In this case, RSM 219, RSM 230, and RSM 250. These courses are not required, but the Rotman Commerce team highly recommends them. And that's because they give you an intro or insight into all of the different specialists. Now, some of you might be sitting here knowing, yes, I am doing management as my program. Some of you might really know, yes, accounting for me. But some of you might have no idea. You might still be considering your different options or feel you need more information. In that case, taking these recommended courses is a really great idea because it will provide some additional insight into all 3 specialists. Now, you don't have to take them in your first year. You might choose to take some in the summer between first and second year, or even push a couple into your second year, but know that they are required as part of all the specialist programs, so you will need to take them at some point. Okay, if we've done the math, if you're wanting to graduate in 4 years, you're likely going to plan to take 5 credits per year for 4 years. We've talked about 2.5 required courses, 1.5 or 2.5 required credits, 1.5 recommended credits. If we're trying to get to 5, that leaves us with 1 credit to use as an elective. There's a lot of different ways you can think about elective courses. I usually recommend that students explore their other areas of interest. So, as I mentioned, if there's another program that you want to complete, so let's say you want to do biology, computer science, diaspora studies, digital humanities, these other areas of interest, writing and rhetoric, you should look at those different programs and see, do they have any requirements that you need to complete in first year? You can also consider completing your breadth requirement, working towards some of those credits. And I also really strongly recommend that students look into special first year opportunities, including the first year foundation seminar and the first year foundation ones program. So these are slightly different. The first year foundation seminar, our FYF seminars are small classes. They're capped at 25 students, and they're basically meant to meet you where you're at as someone finishing high school, coming into university, and kind of bridge the gap between high school and university learning. You really build a strong connection with your professor as well as the other students in your class. So it's a really great way to build community, and they're usually really interesting topics. At Innis College, we have 17 FYF courses that are given special priority for Innis students. So here's a list of them. As you can see, there's a bunch of different options that you might be interested in: cities, real and imagined, mobility and borders. One of my personal favorites is school days. So these are all great ways to be in a small learning environment, really get to know your professor, really get to know your peers, and take really interesting courses. They're only open to you in first year. So I do recommend making use of that type of opportunity, since you won't get it again as part of your U of T degree. The other option is the ONES program. So all 7 colleges, as well as Monk, offer a ONES program. They're all slightly different. At Innis, we have storytelling and society. It's 4 half-credit courses, so you can choose to take 1, you could choose to take 2. You actually enroll on the day of course enrollment, so on July 17th, you can enroll in these courses. Similar to the FYF, they're small class environment. You're likely to have a really strong working relationship with your professor and the other students in your class. But then they also typically include co-curricular events as well. So things happening outside of the classroom. So this year we did a research event for the ONES students where we had upper year students as well as professors speak about how to secure research at the senior level. The librarian might come in and chat about different resources available. It is a really great way if you want resources to come to you as a student rather than you having to seek out these resources. So to learn a little bit more about this, we do actually have a video that I'll play explaining a little bit more about the Innis One program.
Hi, my name is Adam Naiman. I'm a sessional lecturer here at Innis College. I do all sorts of things involving film in Toronto, and the course that I teach for a while now is about film in Toronto, INI 100.
Hello, my name is Annalie Popham, and I'm an instructor of INI 102, Storytelling Through Creative Nonfiction.
Hi, my name is Khamutal Dotan, and I am teaching the first year seminar in literary journalism.
The way that the Innis One courses are designed is to sort of give students a chance not just to get used to taking courses in the various Innis streams, but maybe especially for students who are interested in bridging into film studies, you sort of take a look at film history, you take a look at film form and technique, you sort of deal with the idea of studying cultural objects in a particular context, but it's also not limited to film studies students, and it's not a prerequisite or a co-requisite for anything.
You don't need any previous experience to join this course. Whether you identify as a writer who's been writing since you were very young, or you've never written a personal essay before, this course is an opportunity to expand your skills, explore different elements of craft, and get to know each other within a very interactive and welcoming environment.
Students really have a chance to let go of some of the rules that we were all taught in middle school and in high school about how to write, about that really sort of formulaic essay structure. You get to be much more creative. You come up with ideas about what you want to explore over the course of the semester, and then what we do is we come up with an individual plan so you can build up to writing an article the way that a journalist would.
If your first experience of Toronto is showing up in the classroom, that is fine. You do not have to be a film student, you do not have to be a Toronto resident. It's designed as a first-year class. It's designed to sort of bring people on board, give people an entry point.
You'll learn craft elements like how to work with metaphor, how to avoid the pitfalls of cliché, how to write fully rounded characters, and other elements of craft. You'll also learn different tools like journaling and free writing and more.
So much of school is structured around this sort of top-down model where teachers, professors tell you this is what's right and wrong, and you learn it and then you sort of say it back, whether that's in a test or in an essay. Journalism doesn't function in the same way. Journalism is a function of going out into the world and exploring and then reporting on what you find there. And it really builds a capacity to have some confidence in your own judgment and in your own capacity to convey whatever it is that you found to other people.
So the only thing you need to take the class is, hopefully wanting to do it. And I hope that you do.
Okay, I'll end there. So that's kind of a teaser of our first year foundations ones program. And again, you would enroll in these courses on the first day of course enrollment, so on July 17th. So I do strongly encourage, especially if you are looking to build community. U of T is a big place. The University of Toronto is located within an even bigger city. And if you're looking to make new friends, make strong connections, I know the ONES program is a really great way to do that. Okay, another really great way to do that within the Rotman Commerce community is through the first year learning community, or what we call a FLIC. As a Rotman Commerce student, you will be automatically enrolled in a FLIC, and it will appear on your record as RSM 099Y1. This is a co-curricular course. It is not for credit. Basically, there's no homework, there's no pressure. It's really meant to give you the skills you need to succeed in your courses. You will, and by courses, I mean your required, recommended, and elective courses, the ones that are for credit. It is part of the co-curricular record. So if you do complete the course, you will get a CCR notation. What I think is great about the FLICS, or first year learning community, is that it brings the resources to you. One of the biggest differences I see between high school and university is that in high school, if you're struggling, your instructor, your teacher might come up to you and say, "Hey, I noticed you're struggling. Let's work on this." Or, "Hey, have you considered this resource?" At the University of Toronto, and I'll say at many universities, the relationship is kind of flipped. If you're having a hard time with a concept, if you're struggling with something, oftentimes it is kind of on you to seek out the supports that are right for you. But a first year learning community will bring those resources right to you. So it might talk about the Career Center. It might bring a learning strategist to you. It might talk directly about research opportunities, and that will be available through you to you through the FLIC. So you don't have to do as much research or back end admin work to find some of those supports. They'll come directly to you. So I do highly recommend engaging fully with your first year learning community, as it's a great way to build supports, build connections with other students in your first year of your studies. Okay, so with all that in mind, it's a lot of information. We're going to talk about actually building your timetable. So just to do a refresh of what Denise has just gone over, I've pulled a course code here. So I've picked Math 133Y1, so your first year core calculus course. The first three letters, if you remember, are the department. Then the three numbers identify the course and its level. So here we see 133. That means it's a 100 level course, it's an introductory level course, and 33 is its identifier. Y means it's a full year course. It has a 1 credit weight. If you see an H course, we'll talk about those as well. It's a half credit course. And if you see a 1 at the end, it means that it is on the St. George campus. Now, you might see course codes that have a 3 or a 5. Those refer to UTM, the University of Toronto Mississauga, or the University of Toronto Scarborough. So those are courses on different campuses. Finally, you'll see another letter at the end. Here we see a Y, and that means that the course is offered for the F and S term across the whole year. So it runs from September to April, meaning it's a full year course noted with a Y. So once you have a course that you know you have to take or you're interested in, you should read the course description. The course description can be found in the academic calendar, which Denise went through in greater detail in our previous session. In the calendar, you'll find things like the description. It'll make note of the prerequisites. It will note any exclusions. So an exclusion is when a course is so similar to another course that you can't get credit for both, because it would basically be like taking a repeat. So in this case, we can see that the exclusion for Math 133 is Math 133 Y5, and that is the course as it is offered at Mississauga. So you can't take calculus and linear algebra for commerce students at both the St. George campus and at the Mississauga campus and get credit for both. In some instances, you will also see a co-requisite. This means that a course needs to be taken alongside another course. It's not that common for first year courses to have a co-requisite, but you will see this more commonly in senior level courses. Finally, you have your breadth requirements. So here we can see that the breadth requirement is a breadth requirement 5, the physical and mathematical universe. Every course will have a breadth requirement, and they're working towards your BR requirement as part of your degree requirements. Now, the course description is pretty static. Year over year, it's basically the same. You'll see this in the calendar, and it's the exact same actually as last year. And it's likely going to remain similar next year as well, although from time to time, they will change the prerequisites or the exclusions as new courses get added to the University of Toronto. However, you will want to look at the timetable builder, and we'll do this together in just a second, to see the information that changes year over year. So in the timetable builder, you will see the term that the course is offered in. Again, with Math 133, we're looking at a Y1Y course. You'll see the time and day. So when is the lecture being offered? Is it a Monday, Friday? Is it all offered in one chunk on a Thursday evening? You'll see the special instructions for enrolling. Here we can see that certain lectures correspond with certain tutorials. You'll see the instructor, the space, the waitlist, and the delivery method. Now, if some of these say TBA, so in this case, we can see the instructor is still noted as TBA. That's totally okay. It just means that the instructor hasn't been assigned to this course yet. You will also see here that the time and day, the time is listed, but the location is TBA. That's pretty traditional at this point in the summer. What I will say is that as we get closer to the term, you're going to want to look at the location on Acorn. And we're going to take a look at Acorn as well a little bit later in the presentation. Now, I do want to draw your attention to priority. Priority controls basically give certain priority or access to certain students to ensure that they can enroll in the courses they need in order to complete their program. So as Rotman Commerce students, you will be given priority for very specific courses. So you'll often see courses with priority denoted with a P, a capital P, in the timetable builder. As Rotman Commerce students, you will often also see courses denoted with an R1, and that means that the course is always restricted to certain groups. Now, if you remember all the way back at the beginning of the presentation, I mentioned that as Rotman Commerce students, you would have near total access to RSM and MGT courses, and that's because those courses are denoted with an R1 restriction on them. So before we kind of get into the practicalities of building your schedule, things to ask yourself. Does a course have a lecture, tutorial, and practical? Every course is going to have a lecture, but they might also have a mandatory tutorial and practical. Always make sure you're reviewing the timetable builder to see if it has any of these additional components. Does the course you're interested in conflict with any others? Now, the system won't check for course conflicts, but you should avoid them at all costs. And that's because if you have a course that's at the same time as another course, chances are your assessments are also going to overlap, as well as your final exams. There is no accommodations for building in a conflict, so make sure to avoid it. You also want to check to see how the course is being offered. Some courses are in person, some are synchronous, some are online, async. You just want to make sure you're reviewing the delivery methods, and they might be different between the lecture and the tutorial. And then you also want to check in to where the course is located. You've heard a bunch today that the University of Toronto is a big place. Here is our campus map for the St. George campus. It is a fairly large institution. We're currently located in the kind of northwest corner. We're located, if you follow along, B2 is our little quadrant of where I'm delivering this presentation. You might have a course in the Innis building or very nearby. Lots of Rotman Commerce courses are actually offered across the street, so you'll likely be in this area often. However, you might be interested in taking an elective that's located closer to Queen's Park or even on the St. Mike's College campus. And that is located in the southeast corner of campus. So that would be, if you're following along, the F5 quadrant. Now you can make it between courses at Innis and St. Mike's back to back if you hustle and if the weather's nice. And there is a 10-minute gap between courses. But if you're a little bit of a slower walker like I am, or if it's snowing and raining out, that might be a little bit difficult to do. So even though there is a 10-minute buffer between your courses, you do want to be intentional about how you're building your schedule. And you might want to intentionally build in breaks, especially if you know that your classes aren't super close to one another. Okay, so before we actually open the timetable builder, just a refresher that the academic year is split into the fall and winter terms, and that courses can fall along both. So I've built a potential schedule for a Rotman Commerce student based on your required courses, your recommended courses, and some unique first year opportunities that you could try out. So here I've included INI 106 and Stats 198. So this is a potential timetable that I've built even without opening the calendar or the timetable builder. But of course, I don't know when these courses are being offered. I don't know if they have lectures, tutorials. So in order to dig into that next step, you're going to want to actually go to the timetable builder. So I have opened the timetable builder here that we can take a look at together. So the timetable builder is used by students across all the faculties at the University of Toronto. So here we can see all the different faculties. You always want to be intentional about selecting the Faculty of Arts and Science. Next up, you want to make sure you're picking the right session. Now it's defaulting to the summer session. We want to scroll down here and select fall winter 2025-2026. Once we do that, we have more filters. Now I could simply hit search and all the courses come up, over 3,700. That's going to be a lot of scrolling. So what you want to do first is maybe identify a course code or a department. So I'm actually going to do based on the course code. I'm going to do Math 133 because that's the one we've been talking about. And I'm going to select this and hit search. So it's going to bring me up the one option for Math 133. I'm then going to select this and it's going to open up more information. As you can see, the special instructions are here. If I go more course information, it has all the information that we talked about from the calendar, including the description, the prereq, co-requisite, exclusions, and the breadth requirement. Now, I don't need all that information right now, so I'm going to minimize that. Now, as I scroll down, I can see that there's some different lecture sections, and I can see that there are different tutorials here as well. If I keep scrolling all the way to the bottom, lots and lots of tutorials. Still scrolling. Still. Okay, so now we've gotten to the bottom and we can see that there's no practical. So in this case, I know I need to enroll in both a lecture and a tutorial. To figure out which one works best for me, I have a couple different options. And again, this is me scrolling all the way back up to the top. So I can either add course to plan, and as you can see, it's added it here. I haven't actually picked a specific time or day, and that's because if you go add course to plan, you can add all your courses, and the system will actually build a timetable that makes sense for you, avoiding conflicts based on everything you selected. Now, this might work really well for you. You're like, I don't really care. Just make it work and make sure there's no conflicts. Or you might want to be a little bit more intentional. You might want to actually go in and select the lecture and tutorial that works based on your preferences. Maybe you're like, ooh, I do not want to start at 9 a.m. on Monday. My first day of class, I do not want to have math. So I am going to scroll down. Okay, Mondays at 11 a.m. That feels much better for me. I'm not a morning person. So I'm going to add this course to my timetable. I'm then going to scroll down because I also know I need a tutorial. You can see that some of them are grayed out, and that's because based on the special instructions, I need to enroll in certain tutorials based on the lecture I've picked. So I'm scrolling down, I'm waiting for something to be in blue. I'm like, okay, Thursdays 11 to 12. Yep, that makes sense for me. So I'm going to add this to my timetable. Now, I'm building a timetable, but I haven't actually enrolled in these courses yet. This is just a planning feature. So if I go show timetable, it is building out a timetable here for both the fall and winter terms, but I haven't enrolled in these just yet. We'll talk about that in just a second. Okay, so now that I have my math, maybe I'm like, okay, I want to do my economics courses. But instead of searching by course code, because I know I have Eco 101 and 102, I'm going to search by department. So I can put in Department of Economics and search. Okay, 101 courses, that still feels like too much. I'm going to go up here and search for 100 level courses, and I'm going to go search, and it brings me 7, much more manageable. So I'm looking at Eco 101. Now, if you remember, Eco 101 is a prerequisite for Eco 102. So I want to take Eco 101 in the F or the fall term. So I'm going to open this up again, similar to how I did before, and I'm going to pick a time that works for me. Okay, I don't have anything on Tuesdays, I think at 11, but maybe, you know what, I'd rather do in the afternoon. So Tuesdays at 1 seems right. And then I'm going to scroll down, and again, I'm seeing that there's tutorials here. We love Mondays 2 to 3. We're going to add that to timetable. I'm going to scroll back up to the top. I'm going to minimize this, and I'm going to go to Eco 102. Now, Eco 102 is being offered in the F term, but I know I need to take Eco 101 first before moving on to Eco 102, so I actually want to open the S term option. So I'm going to scroll down here, and I'm going to look at actually the same thing. I'm going to do Eco Lecture 0201, and I'm going to scroll down to Tutorial, and I'm going to add this, maybe let's do Tuesdays 2 to 3 this time. I'm going to go show timetable. And again, now you can see that these additional courses that I've added in are located on my timetable here. So I'm going to hide timetable, going to go up, and next I'm going to put in my RSM courses. So I'm actually going to put in Rotman here, Rotman Commerce. I'm going to search, again, bringing me lots of options, but in this case, I know I want to go through a couple different Rotman options. So I'm going to start with RSM 100 in the F term. I think that works for me. And in this case, you can see that there's only lectures, and you can see that the enrollment controls show that this is restricted, and you're actually the only students who are eligible to take this. Year 1 students in the Faculty of Arts and Science in Commerce. So I'm going to add Wednesdays 3 to 5. I don't have anything that late in the afternoon. Now I want to take these recommended courses. So I'm going to look at RSM 219, also in the F term. Ooh, 9 seems early. Wednesdays, Thursdays. Let's see what's right for me. Okay, I think maybe I'll do this course. I'm going to add this to my timetable. And then again, I'm going to add a tutorial. Ooh, nothing on Fridays. Maybe we'll do Friday. Ooh, I made a mistake, right? So here we can see it's actually created a time conflict. So I'm going to remove from my timetable, and it's actually going to show the conflict so that I can know that I have to pick something else instead. So I'm going to do maybe Thursdays 5 to 6. Okay, I've solved my conflict. I can go back up here and minimize this, and then I can say, you know what, I also want to take, let's do page 2, see what my different options are here. Okay, I also want to take RSM 230, but this time I'm going to put it in the S term. And I'm going to take a look, and I'm going to do Tuesdays at 5. Okay, so I've added a bunch of different courses to my timetable. Here you can see that they're all added in, none of them with conflicts. You can see that I've added lots of big gaps here. And in this case, I have courses that are back to back, my lecture and my tutorial. Because these are lecture and tutorial, I feel that there's a good chance that they'll be close to one another. So I'm actually going to leave those two back to back for right now. Now that I have this, I've built a kind of preliminary timetable. You can share and export this. So I can export as PDF, and this can be one of my plans. Now, what can you do with this plan? You might want to share it with other people and say, hey, can you take a look at this? You might want to just have it on hand for when you're enrolling in courses, or you could even send it to me. I would be happy to take a look at your schedule and make sure that everything is covered off in advance of course enrollment. So I'm going to hide this now. I now have a plan that I've downloaded the PDF for, and I'm going to use this as my guide. So now that I've kind of used the timetable builder to flesh things out, I'm going to actually go to my Acorn account. Now, I am also a student, so I do have an Acorn account just like you guys. And this is what mine looks like. Yours is going to look a little bit different. I'm enrolled in a graduate program. You're enrolled in an undergraduate program. As you can see, I have an outstanding balance. You shouldn't do that. Your fees will be added to your record in mid-July. But what is important is that on the left-hand side, you want to select Enroll and Manage. From here, you want to navigate to the fall and winter, and then you want to select courses. Now, this is what your page will look like, and your enrollment cart is open. Your enrollment cart basically gives you the ability to add courses to your enrollment cart. You can't enroll in them yet, but by adding them to your cart, it makes your course enrollment way easier on the day. It basically allows you to just select enroll on the day instead of having to search everything out. So I'm going to do that labor now. I'm going to look at Math 133, and here I can see that there's Y1 and Y5. Now, I don't want the Mississauga one. I want to make sure I'm taking the Y1. That's for St. George. Now here I can see that there's a bunch of different options. I can go based on my PDF here. So I'm looking for lecture 0301. So 0301. And again, it's going to gray out the tutorials that I'm not eligible to take and keep the ones that I can. So I'm going to add this, and then I'm going to say add to my enrollment cart. So now this course exists in my enrollment cart. I'm going to do the exact same thing with Eco 101. Again, I want to make sure I'm taking the right one. So Principles of Microeconomics. And again, it's going to show me some different options. So I'm just going to quickly click the ones that make sense, add to my enrollment cart. And for RSM 100, so you're going to want to do this for yourself in advance of your course enrollment day. So then when your actual start time comes, so you'll learn your start time on July 1st, you'll pick courses on July 17th. When your start time comes, instead of having to search through, you'll just go through here and you'll hit enroll, enroll, enroll. You'll probably have to do it a maximum of 9 times, and then hopefully you're securing your spot in your courses. If a course is already at capacity, this is also where you'll join the waitlist. Okay, so we've built kind of a timetable. We've added all the things to our enrollment cart on Acorn. I'm going to navigate back here, and we're just going to chat about some additional things to consider. So I always recommend having backups in mind. This includes alternative lecture times and courses. Now, you're definitely going to get into all of your required courses. You should be fine getting into your recommended courses. Where you might run into issues if you want to enroll in a small seminar that has already reached its capacity. You can certainly join the waitlist. If you're falling within the top 10% of the course, you probably have a good chance of getting into it. But let's say you're looking at one of the ones programs, Innis 1, and you are on the waitlist and you're number 1. Yeah, chances are you'll get into that course. But let's say you're number 75 on the wait list. Then what you might want to do is try and choose a different lecture section, try and choose a different course. If you're 75th on the wait list, that means that that course would have to fill up and the students would have to drop the course 3 times over before you would get into it. And that's just not super realistic. You can waitlist up to 2 full credits. Again, I recommend being wary. The credits do count towards your credit load. Acorn will not prevent you from enrolling in a course if you are missing the prereq or if there is a course conflict. So make sure to closely check those things as well before you're enrolling on Acorn. Now, you can change your courses after your enrollment date up to a point. Obviously, there is the last day to add courses and there's drop deadlines, but you can still make changes if something else catches your eye or if you feel like you're not going to make it off a wait list. So, upcoming date. I mentioned July 1st is when start times will be available on Acorn. July 17th is the first day of course enrollment for first-year students. On this day, you can enroll or waitlist up to 5 credits. Now, you want to balance these between the 2 terms, but you're limited to 5 credits. On July 25th, general enrollment starts. That's when you can add a 6th course if you want to. We don't recommend completing 6 courses in your first year. It's a pretty heavy course load, but it is something you might want to do if you're considering balancing different electives. You kind of want to sample both in the first couple weeks of class and then end up dropping the one you don't like. August 12th is the tuition fee payment or deferral deadline. Right now, your status is noted as invited. That's totally fine. You're invited to enroll in courses. But to actually secure your spot in those courses, you want to move your status to registered by making a payment or deferring. Daniela, right after this session, is going to go into way more detail about this. So make sure to stay tuned for Money Matters. And then, of course, courses begin on September 2nd. If you're going to bookmark any site, and there's lots that you can bookmark, Quirkus, Acorn, the calendar, the dates and deadlines is one of the top ones I recommend bookmarking because you really want to stay on top of those dates and deadlines. Again, it is your responsibility as a student to make sure you're adhering to these different dates, like the drop deadline, the LWD deadline, the last day to add courses. So it's really important that you bookmark this, or even I recommend adding it to your calendar. Now, as Rotman Commerce students, of course, you've got tons of great benefits through the Faculty of Arts and Science, through Innis College. We're doing this session today, but there's also academic advising seminars available through Rotman. So they have a ready for course enrollment and then go through different options and different things to consider throughout the month of July. You also have already been admitted into Arrive Ready, another great program to get you ready for your university studies. Lots of more information, and Maddie just posted the link to the Rotman Commerce Next Step events in the chat. I've chatted about tons of resources. Denise has chatted about tons of resources today. Again, the expectation is not that you're going to memorize everything, but this presentation will be available online. This recording will be available online if you want to go back over anything we've discussed. I'm always available to answer questions. So is our office. But here are some of the links that we've chatted about or that would be useful if you are looking to bookmark anything. So the Rotman Commerce website, the calendar, the timetable, the important dates, Quirkus, Acorn, and Degree Explorer is a tool that you'll be using later on in your degree, but I do recommend bookmarking it as it will become your best friend once you're in second year. Okay, so tons of information. We're about 2 minutes from our time, but there is time if you do have any questions. I'm happy to answer them now if anyone wants to unmute. If you want me to actually look at a course in more detail on the timetable builder, or if you want me to look at a course in the calendar or a program in more detail in the calendar, I'm also happy to do that. So I'll give everyone a couple minutes if you want to unmute or type your questions in the chat. Otherwise, you're happy to, leave and go back to the main room and get ready for Daniela's Money Matters session.
So I wonder that how fast usually classes filled up. Is it like within the day of the course enrollment is opened, or it takes few weeks or perhaps few days up until the class is filled up and I can no longer get in?
Yeah, so that's a great question. It really depends on the course, right? So because your like RSM, for example, is restricted, it probably won't fill up immediately, right? There might be some lecture sections might, but there'll probably be some lingering space for students to enroll if need be. However, if you're looking at one of those small seminar courses, there's a chance that it will fill up on the day of course enrollment pretty quickly, just depending on how popular it is. So you want to make sure that you are enrolling on your course enrollment day at your start time in order to get the best chance of not just getting the courses you want, but also the lecture sections you want.
All right, thank you.
Of course. Any other questions?
Yeah, could you just reiterate what the difference is between the one's foundation, I mean what's it called? There's foundational courses and then there's the sorry, I forgot the term all of a sudden, but
The
yeah.
yeah, the seminars and the ones. Yeah, so the seminars are offered by other departments. So like you're gonna have like they're going to be offered by stats, anthropology, math. They're going to actually be offered by other departments and be kind of introductory courses. Again, they're still small, they're still giving you that kind of small environment so you get to know your profs and your other students, but they are hosted by other departments. These are the ones that have a focus for Innis students. So you're likely to find more Innis students in the course, but it's not actually an Innis course. The ones programs, all of these courses are actually INI courses. They are Innis courses. And as a result, you're going to have more connection to the Innis college community. And they are going to bring in some Innis resources directly into the classroom and have those co-curricular events. So what I would say is that the ones program is really great if you want to, I mean, go based on the topics if you like the topics. But the Innis One program is really great if you want to build community here at Innis and get to know the Innis resources and are interested in some of that co-curricular piece. If you're like, oh, no, I really just want to take this environmental writing course, or again, there's more. I'll say as you're going through the timetable builder, if you see a course, I'm just going to put in, okay, I'm just going to put in psychology here as an example. Okay, so as I search through here, you see 195, 197. These are seminars, like FYF seminars. You can see that they're 25, they're restricted to first year students. And here you can see that this one's actually for Innis College. So rethinking the human mind. So you'll actually have pretty good priority of getting into this course during course enrollment, but it isn't technically an Innis course. It's offered by psychology. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, I think I understand the difference now. Thank you.
Okay, and we have in the chat, someone's just asking, is it possible for me to do the Vic 1 stream and the recommended and required courses for Rotman Commerce? So I'll just answer it for everyone so that everyone's aware. So some of the ones programs do require an application and they do require taking sometimes 2 credits throughout the year. So if we're thinking 2 credits through a ones program, you have 2.5 required courses, that's going to basically push out some of your recommended courses. That's not necessarily a problem. You can take those recommended courses in the summer between first and second year or in your second year. It's just going to, if you haven't had a chance to explore all your Rotman Commerce specialized, like the specialist programs, you're not exactly sure which one you want to do. It might hinder your ability to know which one to select at the end of April. Having said that, you can always change your specialist if you find out you like something else instead. What I will say is that if you've been admitted to the Vic 1, the Trin 1, even Monk 1 program that do require taking more than one credit, those are very unique programs. They are really good ways to build community. And if you're really into the topic, they can be worth doing in your first year. Just know that it might mean rejigging your Rotman Commerce courses to put a slightly heavier load in your second year to take all of those recommended courses. You'll notice that the recommended courses are at the 200 level, so that so it's okay to be taking them in second year. Okay, I'm going to cut things off there just because we're coming up on 12:25 and we do have our next session at 12:30. So I want to make sure that you have time to go to that session and take a break beforehand. So if you do have any questions that come up that you want answered, if this wasn't, we dug into something, but you have additional questions, you can always contact me directly at dryden.rainbow@utoronto.ca. There we go, at dryden.rainbow@utoronto.ca, or you can contact the registrar's office at registrar.innis@utoronto.ca. We're always happy to answer your questions. I'll be in the next session, so if you want to direct message me there, I can also answer your questions there.